Welcome to the Distillery District. Let me show you around. Before Gooderham and Worts, the owners of the Distillery District made any alcohol, they made a different substance, flour. Over here, where these red bricks are laying, stood a 70-foot tall windmill back in 1832. The windmill was used to grind wheat into flour and sell it to the people of Toronto. Now, the people who built it, Gooderham and Worts, came from Norfolk, England, and they came over to Ontario for a few reasons. The first being, it was a great business opportunity. There wasn't a lot of regulation here, and there wasn't a lot of competition. James Worts was 20 years a master miller already, and his brother-in-law, Gooderham, was an industrialist. Together, the two of them saw business opportunities in the colony of Upper Canada and the town of York, as it was known at the time. The facility would be used to make flour for about 2 years, and then, unfortunately, tragedy would strike the family. James Worts' wife, Elizabeth, unfortunately passed away giving birth to her 7th child. Due to grief, James Worts threw himself down the company well. It was at this time that 15-year-old James Worts Jr. was promoted to be junior partner of Gooderham and Worts. In his spare time, within the operations of the mill, he started brewing beer. Impressed by this, his older uncle Gooderham eventually upgraded him to a whiskey still, marking the first rye whiskey ever created in Ontario. It's garbage day here at the distillery, and that relates to this monument more than you would think. This is the location of the 1832 Ontario Lake shoreline, of where it would have been when Gooderham and Worts first got here. Right now, as you may know, the shoreline is about a half a kilometer south where Lake Ontario lies now. About a half a kilometer north is where it would have been in 1793, when York was first founded, and that's where Front Street gets its name. Now, you might be wondering, how did the lake shore exactly move? Well, that would be all the garbage that Torontonians were pouring into the lake at the time. All this garbage would eventually accumulate back on shore, being pushed by the flow of the lake, and eventually all that garbage would pile up and the lake couldn't overcome it anymore. The Torontonians decided to put dirt on it and reclaim the land as new parts of Toronto. Now, around this time, also, cholera and other diseases were becoming a huge problem. One of the contributing factors was all the garbage and contaminated water that a lot of the population was drinking. But doctors at the time didn't know that. Eventually, the population of Toronto realized that the only safe liquid to drink would be alcohol, since the water was contaminated with all that garbage. This led to a dramatic increase in alcoholism in Toronto, and also a rise in profits for Gooderham and Worts. This is the old Stone Distillery, the largest standing structure and oldest standing structure left in the Distillery District. It was constructed between 1860 and 1861 and cost about $2 million at the time to create. It was created by Gooderham and Worts, whiskey producers in the area and the owners of the Distillery District. They created it because they realized the demand for whiskey was outpacing their supply. In their previous facility, they could produce about 60,000 gallons of whiskey annually. But in this facility, by its peak, it would create 2.5 million gallons annually. This building was designed by David Roberts Sr. He was a civil engineer and also had experience in military fortress design. He was selected because these skills would come important when working with the industrial nature of the distillation process, and also because Gooderham and Worts knew the chance for explosion was extremely high when working with alcohol. This building did explode in 1869, but thanks to David Roberts Sr.'s ingenious design, it's still standing to this day. The walls are made out of about a meter thick limestone imported from Kingston, Ontario, and the roof is meant to be intentionally thin. When the explosion occurred, the roof popped off, letting all the pressure out, and the building still remains to this day, 150 years later.